what does gutsy mean to you, my friend?
Honestly, gutsy just means giving yourself permission to listen to your truth. I think so many women are afraid to really listen to what they already know, and then they go, dang, I knew that when it's too late. And if I could encourage anyone to do anything, it would be give yourself permission to actually listen to that voice because that is your inner knowing.
Welcome to the Gutsy Podcast, the show where you learn how to own what you actually want and shift the mind junk that's been holding you back. I'm Laura Ora, keynote speaker, coach, and your guide to help you get clarity, build confidence, and make the gutsy moves that change your life. Each week, I'm going to help you simplify things by teaching you how to get out of your head while stepping into action. This way you can achieve all those life shifts that you've been overthinking. Your desire, that drives you. But gutsy, that's what gets it done. You're showing up, you're doing the work, you're saying you want to make more money and setting financial goals. So where is the money? What if your nervous system, not your strategy, is the reason that you're not making more money? Today, we're not talking about doing more, pushing harder, or chasing another perfect offer. No, we're talking about expanding your capacity to receive money, to hold money, and to sustain more income by creating safety in your body and within your business. Aubrianna shares how familiar patterns like feast-and-famine cycles, undercharging, and resisting visibility often stem from subconscious beliefs and dysregulated nervous systems. Aubrianna Kay is a multiple six-figure business coach and energetics mentor who helps women scale to 20,000 plus months in just 20 hours a week. She blends high converting strategy with energetics and leadership embodiment. With 15 years in corporate strategy and a background in PR and marketing, she built her first six-figure business with just 700 followers and has since scaled multiple ventures to six figures and beyond. She is a master of messaging and small audience sales, and she helps women create reoccurring revenue, build seamless sales systems, and lead with depth and magnetism. Now, I got to go out on a limb before we dig into this episode because I'm going to assume if you are here listening to this, it means that you are the strong one in your group. You're the one that everyone else goes to for guidance and advice. But who is in your corner calling you forward? You're craving more freedom, more fulfillment, more depth, and you are so fucking over pretending like you are satisfied. That's one of the reasons you're listening to this episode about making more money. Look, if you are done letting fear and comfort dictate your choices and you are ready to finally live the life that you've been craving, then I invite you to join Auraline. This is a 6-month group coaching experience for high-achieving women who are navigating growth, transition, and are just feeling a little stuck. You want personalized support, you want to be in the room with expanders, and you want to do it without the pressure to have it all figured out or to have it perfectly curated. If you are ready to finally do the thing instead of talk about the thing, then I invite you to go to lauraora.com/mastermind to apply to join Auraline today. All right, my friend, today's episode is going to shift something within you, the way that you look at, talk about, and feel about money. So let's get into it. Aubrianna Kay, what an absolute honor. Welcome to the Gutsy Podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, Laura. I'm amped, I'm pumped, I'm ready to get into it.
Oh my gosh. So I need all of you to hear and know that Aubrianna is my business coach. So I am honored to be sharing her with you today. She and I bumped into each other on TikTok. We like crossed paths years ago, right? I don't even remember how many years ago. And we stayed in each other's orbit, and I've always felt drawn to you. We share a lot of similarities with intuitive and business and life and just our, kind of overall outlook in life and in general. And man, I just, one day, I don't know what it was. You hooked me in the right way. I was ready to receive. I think I was ready to receive, and you just happened to say the right thing in the right moment. And, I can't imagine doing business without you. So it's an honor to have you here.
That touches my heart so much. I always set the intention that the people who need to hear it find it when they need to hear it. So receiving that back is like so beautiful. And you and I have definitely been connected at least 3 years.
I couldn't agree more. Yeah. Yeah. TikTok is such a cool place. I've met so many great people there that like I can genuinely call friends now. and, of course, getting amazing support through you. And you're helping me with what we're talking about today.
Yeah.
This is one of the things that I'm actively getting support with too. So friends listening, I am not I'm not void of this topic. In fact, I'm a little extra open today because I'm still receiving this information. So we're talking about receiving and holding money, right? We say we want more, but then we unintentionally push it away and all this stuff. I got to know, what has your journey been like with this particular topic? Because I'm going to guess if you're teaching it, you know it pretty well.
I mean, I think that there's levels to it, but just kind of broad brush strokes over my journey with money. I did not grow up with a lot of money. I struggled with homelessness. My parents were addicts growing up, and we kind of got into a little bit more stability through high school in terms of having a stable place to live. But I started working in high school under the table. I would take boxes of candy to school to sell, like kind of illegally, even though I shouldn't have been doing that, to kind of fund myself to have school supplies. And I was dealing with like abuse and alcoholism at home. And so I really clung to safety. I was like, I need to overachieve. I need to get into college, get good grades, get the job so that I could finally feel safe. And there were some twists along that path, right? I struggle with learning disabilities. So I thought it was a smart idea to put myself into multivariable AP calculus. And so I got an F in that my last semester of senior year, which means that my UC Santa Cruz admission got revoked. So I did not get to go to college the way that I thought I was going to. My school didn't have D's, so it was a 68%
Oh my
gave
goodness.
me an F. I know, I know. And I remember begging my teacher. I was like, just give me the 2 points. Like, totally derailed my path. And I fell into like a depression because I felt like my whole future, my way to escape was gone. And then I took a semester off. I went to a Cal State, if you're in California, Cal State Dominguez Hills, and got into a bunch of student debt because, like I said, didn't have money. I did get the Pell Grant. I did get a little bit of like state funding, but they were like, you're an adult, sign this paper. And I was like, cool, money. So I immediately got into a bunch of student loan debts, got into a lot of credit card debt because I was writing checks my ass could not cash. And I was working full time to put myself through school. And it was really just such a struggle. Like, I remember my early adulthood was so scarce. I was like checking credit cards to see, like, do I have $12 to put this Taco Bell on here right now? Like, is it going to decline me at the register? Do I have $5 to put this burger for work for my lunch on here? And I just didn't know how to manage money. I didn't really know how to receive money. And I was working at Target. I was not well paid. Okay. I was maybe making $8 an hour or something like that. And honestly, my money journey just continued to spiral. I had a partner at the time who was struggling with some really severe mental health issues, and she tried to take her own life a few times. So she was not working. So I then was supporting another human being, got into even more debt, and I was dodging the repo people for my car. And I just remember like the incessant collectors calling me, like always having to have my phone on silent, constantly trying to block numbers, like truly robbing Peter to pay Paul at all the times, always being late on my rent. And there just came a point where I was like, I can't do this anymore. So I sold everything that I had pretty much on like Facebook Marketplace. And I borrowed $1,100 from my grandmother so that I could put down a deposit to rent a room. I was like, I need to downsize to get out of this. And I ended up having to pay 6 months rent in advance because my credit was so bad that they would not take me and I couldn't get approved anywhere. I had to give up my cat because I had a beautiful, loving cat with me. So luckily, one of my family friends adopted the cat from me because the room would not allow that. And I didn't even have a bed. So I was sleeping on like a little foam and some blankets on the floor for like 3 months until one of the people in the house moved out. And they were like, "Hey, we noticed you don't have a bed and I'm gonna put mine out on the curb. Do you want this bed?" And honestly, I felt like the luckiest girl because my back was hurting, even in my 20s.
I can imagine so.
I'm camping on the floor here. But I was so determined to get out of the cycle of digging deeper, 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 um, that I was like, this is what I have to do. Because at that point, it was like credit cards were maxed out. To come up with the 6 months rent, I took payday loans, which, if you've ever taken a payday loan, my heart goes out to you because I've been there. It's so predatory. On top of the 1100 that I had to give back to my grandmother at some point. Then that partner broke up with me and just left me there with everything, all the bills. Not that we had any furniture to figure it out on my own. And I remember that was really my breaking point with money, where I was like, I will never allow myself to get this broke again. I will never allow myself to bend over backwards for other people or not prioritize myself. And I need to educate myself with money. Because at the time I had moved out of the Target corporate, I was working in a better job, but with the payday loans, it was constantly like two step forwards, one step back. Every time I would get paid, it was like I would try to take stuff out of my bank account before I knew it was going to draft to like save it and let my account go negative. And so one day I was like, I need to get another job because I'm like, I'm never going to break this cycle. And I feel like anyone who has struggled with money, it's almost like you keep hitting a red light at every intersection and you only have two options. You're either going to floor it to break the cycle or you're going to stop and wait it out and start again. But to stop and wait it out is a privilege that a lot of people don't have, and it was one that I didn't have. So I got a second job and started throwing that money to the payday loan so I could get out of it. And I'll be honest, I let all my cards go to collections. I stopped trying to pay them. I paid off the payday loans and I was like, my credit is trash. Fuck it. I'm going to wait it out and I'm going to live on a cash cycle for like the next 7 years because I was like, this is a commitment. I was like, we got the car we have. I'm like, like truly, my credit was so trash anyway that I ended up like doing like the payoff for a certain amount for every card and like
Hmm.
slowly got through all of that working two jobs. So that's a little bit of like where I came from with money. Very
See,
stark difference of where I'm sitting now.
I knew
Yeah.
that when you talk so fluently and beautifully and help other people with this, I knew that there was a deep, deep rooted story
Yeah.
because you've been there. You know what it's like. You can empathize and really see and understand what people are really going through. And also knowing what's really possible.
Mhm.
Because if we fast forward,
Yeah.
if I may,
Yeah.
you're doing $30,000 to $50,000 a month now.
Yes.
A month, friends, not a year, one singular month every month in a row. So, you floored it,
I did.
right? You went through probably 8 red lights with that flooring.
Yeah.
You started to shift things, but I'm going to bet something deeper internally had to shift too. It wasn't just the act of like, gunning it and doing the work to make the money to get out of it. Something
Mhm.
had to deeply shift within you. What was that like?
I think when you don't grow up with money, you have all these beliefs around money, right? So, like looking at my journey when I started moving up in corporate, right? I eventually got a better job. I was able to work on commission. I've worked in like headhunter roles, all different industries. I was making good money. And like, I remember when I got my first good job. Oh my God, you're gonna laugh. It was $13 an hour. And I almost didn't take the job because I was like, it's so much money. They're going to figure me out.
Mm.
They're going to know that I'm not like up to this caliber. Because I was coming from, $8 an hour. And I was like, that's a huge jump. I'm like, that's almost double my pay. And I look back at that now and I'm like, that's peanuts. But my internal complex around money was so tied to my worth. And so as I worked my way up to eventually making six figures, it was like these little micro moments of choosing to be uncomfortable with it and to stretch myself with it and to challenge my own status quo that really helped me move through that. But I think what really changed my entire perspective, and I feel very blessed to have had this experience. I worked in luxury retail sales for about 6 years, working with millionaires, billionaires, celebrities. And some of my clients really would sit down and impart wisdom on me and share with me their view of money. Like the way that they spoke about it was very triggering to me because they would spend my entire year's salary in a shopping trip on ready to wear. These are not couture clothes by any means. We're talking t-shirts and stretchy pants, okay? And so I think that that was very confronting. And that kind of set me on hyperspeed a little bit, where I was like, their reality is so different from what I'm living. I almost didn't take a $30,000 a year job because I thought it was too much money. And this person's spending 35,000 on t-shirts.
Yeah.
And it really made me start to look at money being like just a resource and starting to unravel it from my self-worth and realizing like they are the same as me. We are same. Different access, different privileges, different backgrounds, but they are not any more special or more educated or more deserving of money than I am. And that really, really was a big piece of that puzzle for me was just seeing it. There's knowing it. And then there's like you swiping the card for them as, their little retail bitch who's like, let me fold your clothes. And you're just like, wait, what is happening? And living in that parallel universe was was very, very eye-opening for me.
I love this because if you're the only one in your world that's
Hmm.
trying to make this kind of money, trying to get out of debt, working towards something bigger, if you're the only one in your world, I
Yeah.
think sometimes that can get really, it can feel harder to believe because you're not witnessing it. Right. I think that's why they say, like, the people that you surround yourself with matters. And I think that's why, one of the things that drew me to you was I was like, she is showing me what's possible.
Hmm.
Right. At first, straight transparency, I was so fucking triggered.
Yeah.
I was just like 30, 50 grand a month, whatever. Like that's not possible. Right. Because it's just not been something that I've known.
Yeah.
But yet it mirrored and reflected back a desire that I have.
Yes. Hmm.
And so I think that's the same situation in what you're talking about with the clients where you're folding their t-shirts, swiping 35 grand, and you're like, what the fuck?
Yep.
What the fuck? And I don't know, there's just something about that dismantles it, but also shows you what's possible.
Yeah.
Like if this even if this conversation is starting to kind of rub your ass the wrong way, take that as a sign that you're in the right place
Hmm.
because it's calling you forward.
Hmm.
You call me forward. Those people called you forward
Yeah.
because they're mirroring what's possible. They're showing you that what you want is true and real.
And I'll say when you go on this journey and your perspective starts to shift, you're going to trigger people and people will project and trauma dump all over you. I remember a specific scenario with my dad where I was like, "Oh yeah, when I get older, I'm just gonna hire um like a person to help me in my home cleaning." And he was like, "You just think you're better than everybody else.
Mm,
Who do you think you are?" And I remember being so hurt by that because my brain had normalized like that's available to me. And I'm like, how cool would it be to be able to provide myself and my family support in that capacity? And it was like projection, trauma dump, like Every mean thing you could say to someone, just direct it at me for just simply saying that I wanted to hire help. It was
Yeah.
like, how are you going to build this company? Because this is when I started my business and, be in the home. And it was like, well, I'm going to hire help, of course. Like just so normalized off the top of my head.
Sure.
Not well received.
Not well. Did we grow up with the same narrative? Because it sounds like we might have. Because that also has played in my head more times than I care to count.
hmm
Or you think you're better than everybody else. Who are you to do that? Like,
Yeah.
oh, you're just uppity uppity. Oh, look what Laura's doing. Like that kind of snubbing.
Yep.
And it really makes you question it. But the other side of that is like hiring help. You're also supporting somebody else that's doing something that they love.
Yeah.
Where's that conversation? You know what I mean? Like
hmm
one of my like non-negotiables, Laura will be hiring a personal chef. Done. I mean, it is already written in the stars. Okay.
Love it.
And I'm like, that person loves to cook.
Yeah.
That person is going to be like, oh my gosh, I get to cook for Laura Ora. Do you know what I mean? Like that's a reality that exists. So it's really just how we look at it and the energy that we have around it.
And it honestly took me years to realize that it was all projection. In that moment, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm horrible. I'm a spoiled brat. Like, you're right. Maybe I shouldn't want that. It really kind of like retracted my energy around my dreams, which is why when people say you need to be around community, you need to be around other people who understand the path that you're on, I'm 10 toes down for that because it's
Yeah.
true. Like if I had stayed in that energy, if I had let my family sort of dictate that for me, I would not be sitting here right now. But because I gave myself space, I was like, I'm going to kind of step away from this dynamic. I started to put myself in spaces and around people and energy that was bigger, that could hold more. It stretched my capacity. You need to be around expanders.
Hmm.
And if you're the biggest energy in the room in your family or your friends group, you need to get in places that expand you because you will not continue to grow if you are always the biggest one in the room.
So true. Because then who do you go to?
Yeah.
Who's mirroring the next level of possibility for you?
Yeah. And it might feel good in that moment to be like, wow, I'm like the top of my friends group, but that's really just ego. And like your soul's meant to grow bigger and you're meant to evolve and you're meant to continue the journey. And so when you find yourself at capacity in your friends group, like you're meant to get into the next room. You're meant to get into
Yeah.
the next friends cycle, people who are going to see your potential and not just where you've been or where you've gotten so far.
Not where you've gotten so far. Yeah.
hmm
Yeah, that's the stuff. This makes me wonder, how this is tangibly showing up in your business,
hmm
right? Because I know a lot of women say, I want to make more money. I want to make more money. I'm going to do this amount of money. I'm going to make six figures. I'm going to have 30K months, but like it's not happening. The evidence is not there to support it. What do you find is typically happening when they're saying they want more money, but it feels like they're standing in a void in the desert?
Hmm. So let's take the example of you being triggered by me online, right? Your brain goes, I want 30 to 50K months. Let's go. I'm ready to play at that level. And possibly your soul is saying that too, but your body is programmed for survival. If the most money you've ever seen in person was $1,000, jumping to 30 to 50 in your mind is going to create a resistance wave of bullshit. Your body's going to say, sure, bitch, sure, you can have that. You've never even seen more than $1,000. That's not possible for you, right? So we have to actually stair step our way up. So you want to think of it like you don't want to just go jump in boiling water. You don't want to shock your system. You want to go into warmer water, warmer water, warmer water, warmer, and give yourself capacity to breathe through every step. Now, I'm a spiritual girly. You know this about me.
Absolutely. Wouldn't have it any other way.
When we think of like the concept of collapsing time, I hear this a lot, especially around money. You think collapsing time means going from 0 to 50K in like 6 months. Yes, that's collapsing time if your body and nervous system can handle it. But it's also collapsing time to go from 0 to 10K months in 6 months. And so I think that sometimes our idea around money gets misconstrued where we're not giving ourselves the space to grow in that capacity because we're all starting at different places. If I used to make $30,000 a year and now I do more than that in a month, right? But it's been an 8-year journey. This was not an overnight success story. This was me hustling my ass off for my first 100K in my healing business, burning myself out, going into depressive episodes, like getting on medication, coming out the other side of that and going, actually, I think I built that out of survival. Whoops. Didn't realize I was doing that. Right. So you have to meet your body and your belief system where it is. Like if you truly, truly, truly believe nobody's going to buy your offer, before we work on your money story, we need to start there. If you truly, truly believe that you can make money, but you can't keep it, we have to start there. And so for anyone listening, you have to start with radical honesty. There's the beliefs that you want to have, and then there's the beliefs that you really have. And if you really get honest with the beliefs that you truly have in the way that you're operating, it gives us a baseline to then start to grow. But until you can look at yourself with that level of vulnerability and rawness, you can continue to just move through the world under the assumption of like, one day it'll be nice. I'm manifesting. Yeah, that's great, but you can't receive something that your body cannot hold.
You're driven, high achieving, and probably carrying way more than the rest of the world knows and sees. And I'm going to bet that you are trying to navigate growth or transition all by yourself. You don't want to lower your goals or expectations, but you don't know what to focus on next. How do I get over this hump? And also, where are all the other like-minded fucking people? Friend, this is exactly what Auraline Mastermind was created for. In here, you're going to get direct access to me. I'm going to be in your corner, and you're going to be surrounded by other like-minded women that have the same drive, desire, and push that you do. In Auraline, I'm going to help you find the things that you're missing. Those answers are often right in front of you, and I'm going to help you to see it and understand it clearly. I'm going to say the real shit that you need to hear, because most people aren't going to tell you the truth. I will, because that's where your breakthrough lives. And we're going to simplify what feels overwhelming. I'm going to take all your messy, tangled thoughts that feel big and complicated and make them clear, easy, and sustainable. Friend, you are going to know exactly where to focus your time and your energy. And the result? You're finally going to start doing and having the thing that you've been circling around for years. You won't leave Auraline the same person. You'll leave as the person you were always meant to be. Apply now to reserve your spot at lauraora.com/mastermind. So true. And that's why you say you want something, but it's not coming in, because you've got like magnets opposite of one another. Instead of clicking together, they're like resisting away from one another.
Yeah.
What does that look like for you? Okay. So let's say you recognize a belief or a thought or something that's really stopping you from being able to do this. How do you work with that? How do you work through that so that you can release it so that you can start receiving it?
Well, the first thing is resistance doesn't mean you shouldn't be doing it. Everyone thinks like, oh, resistance, it must be out of alignment. No, like there's so many times I faced resistance in my business, especially around selling, where if I had told myself resistance meant don't do it, I wouldn't be here. Resistance is just like you're lifting the weights at the gym and it is building the muscle for you. So once you find your baseline belief, let's say that you want to get to a 10K month and you're maybe making 2K months right now. Or maybe you're still in a corporate job and like your salary is 2 to 3K a month and you're like, I want to get to a 10K month. I need to supplement 7 in my business. Start with showing your body that you can make an extra 1,000. So that is exactly what I did. When I started my new business in business coaching, I had come from the burnout business and I was like, I'm not going to do that again. How can I show my body it's safe to receive money without killing myself for it? And so I was like, can I make $1,000 this month? I made $1,000 and I was like, great. But my belief was, sure, you can do it, but can you do it again? Can you do it without burning out? And so my little inner, mother-in-law voice, if you will, whatever you want to call it, I call it my inner critic, my inner bitch, whatever. I'm like, okay, so I'm going to do that for 3 months to show my patterning, to show my body like it's safe to do this. Once I did that for 3 months, I almost instantly jumped to 5K months.
Mm.
I needed to create safety. So, whatever your patterning is, how can we start to create safety? Because when you're safe, you move different. Think about somebody who, like, their parents will step in and support them financially if they had to. They make very different decisions than people like me who had no safety net.
Very true.
So, when you create safety for yourself, you start to move different. You start to take different risks. You start to show up bolder. You start to show up more authentically. That like inner soul calling has more room for expression. That when you're operating out of survival, your brain goes, play it safe. Don't go too big. You have a lot to lose. And so much of the energetics comes into play here around how can you hold yourself and operate from that place, even though you know that you still are in the same physical reality.
And that's the tough part, right? Is like it's a lot of unseen inside quiet work when your 3D real world is telling you a whole different story. I mean, that I've bumped up against that more times than I care to even fucking count. Seriously. Um, and I mean, it's that choosing to floor it.
Yeah.
It's choosing to go through the red light. Because what is the alternative?
Yeah.
I often get myself in that type of mindset when I have my moments.
Mm-hmm.
I get down, I get ugly, and then I'm like, what is the alternative, Laura?
Yeah.
Stay here,
Mm-hmm.
or we're gonna fucking strap up and we're gonna get at it. You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
you have to consciously start to choose the things and the activities and the beliefs that are going to get you the thing that you actually wanted instead of going back to what feels safe because it's familiar to you.
Yes. Mm-hmm. 1000%.
I love this idea of like creating safety and like building layers
Mhm.
because I think so much of online stuff is just like, oh, you can go from this to this in 60 days, and oh, I didn't do that, so there's something fundamentally wrong with me, right? Then that inner critic starts to ramp up and she starts telling us all kinds of shit. But what you're saying is it's so much more palatable and so much easier on the nervous system where it's like I'm starting to show myself what's possible.
Yep.
I might not be at that big number yet, but this number is bigger than the one last.
Yeah. Our body and our energetics do something really interesting. I've been business coaching for 8 years now, and I've seen this in hundreds of women that I support. You go from 1K, and almost everyone makes the same timeline jump where it's like they've normalized one, and all of a sudden they're at five, and they're not sure how they got there. It's because their body's relaxed enough to start receiving it. And
Mm.
then once you get to five, there's a little bit of like that contraction to getting to 10. But then once they get to 10, they're at like 15, 17, and they're not quite sure like what changed to get there. And it's like these little moments of contraction and how you respond to the contraction determine your expansion. Because when people feel contraction, they go into fight, flight, or freeze. And this is what I call ghosting your potential, where you stop posting, you stop selling, you go, oh, well, nobody's buying because you're not selling. You convince yourself nobody wants it before you've even given it an opportunity. And this is why we see this like kind of false dichotomy around pricing in the coaching industry, where you're living off the dopamine hits of selling the cheap thing because it's like building your faith. But then you are subconsciously creating the belief that nobody wants your big premium offer.
Mm.
But I can sell 1,010 dollar things and get that dopamine, dopamine, dopamine. Woohoo! Every time I'm celebrating a sell. Or I can spend that same amount of time selling 1 to 2 really juicy offers that actually feel like rest in my body, that actually feel sustainable, that actually allow me to show up in quality for my clients. But we are so programmed to operate from a place of pain and getting out of the pain that we won't hold the discomfort long enough to see the result.
Mm.
We live in a very microwave society. And the more that you can start to create groundedness and safety in the discomfort and hold the discomfort and see what it's trying to tell you, the larger the result you're going to have. Because you're not going to water yourself down for instant gratification and then start the cycle over again when you realize it's not what you really wanted. I speak from experience here.
I I hear you loud and clear.
Yeah.
I feel like I've moved from the microwave to the air fryer.
Mhm.
It's a little longer, but it's still kind of fast. It's holding in that contraction.
Mhm.
It's recognizing when you start pulling back. And I love some of those examples that you gave. Like, you're not posting anymore, you're not talking about your offers, you're no longer sending emails out, you're not talking to people about things, right? Like,
Yeah.
that's what you're saying, is you're in contraction.
Mhm.
You're resisting that next level that you're looking for. So how do you catch and move through that instead of pulling back and retreating? What do you recommend that people do in those moments?
Honestly, you got to call yourself on your own bullshit a little bit.
I hear that.
I hate to tell you, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but like you do have to hold yourself accountable. And I always frame it like this in my mind. If you are someone who's building a business, there are daily operations that say your business is open. And if you fail on those tasks consistently enough, you'll be back in a job. And so you have to ask yourself, like, this short-term discomfort will give me the expansion of like 30 to 50K months if I follow the discomfort. If you follow the comfort, it's a form of self-soothing, but it's not going to get you the result you want. And so you know when that voice goes, I should be doing this. I know the whole industry's like, oh, don't shit all over yourself. We can talk about attachment and shame on a different level with that, but you know inherently what you're meant to do. Like your soul is telling you. You do have that inner knowing. And how you respond to yourself, how you let yourself off the hook, how you let yourself completely ghost your business, that is different than I need to take a beat and I need to take a day. We're talking 3 weeks without a single post. We're talking we've abandoned our email list, it's collecting dust. And there.
Yeah.
And the only way to move through that is to build the habit. And you may not like it. It's simple, but it is not easy. If it was so easy to just do 30 to 50K months, everyone would be doing it. So there is a level of like steadfast energy that you have to really make this possible for you, no matter what you're trying to manifest, no matter what your relationship with money is. I don't care if you're already at $1 million, if you want to get to 7 million, if you want to get to 10 million, if you're at $1 and you want to get to 100, there's a level of accountability and steadfast nature to move through those seasons to get to where you want to go. An energy that most people will never hold themselves accountable to because so many of us just move through life checked out, going through the motions.
Yeah.
And there's levels of discernment with this. And I know you know this being in my space where I will say there are going to be times when you need a cash injection strategy because not everybody has the privilege to hold through the contraction. And so I just want to put some nuance to this conversation around that like long-term strategy, yes, we need to hold the contraction. You got bills to pay and you're a single mom with your back against the wall. Let's talk about a cash injection strategy and holding the contraction in the 3-year plan. Because that's not always possible. And I was certainly there where I was doing dash deals and discounts because I was like, I need to feed myself.
Business is not for the faint of heart. And if you want to be comfortable, you picked the wrong thing, friend.
Mhm.
It is continued. Listen, I've been in business collectively now for 18 years. The shit is uncomfortable.
Mhm.
And unless you get to a point where you feel just solid, or like, I don't need or want to grow anymore, which can happen, but most entrepreneurs, there's a next level,
Yeah.
right? There's something else that we want to do and grow and achieve. It's just kind of how we are wired. It is consistently putting you in a place of discomfort
Mhm.
and growing to those next levels. I mean, gosh, selling the agency and going all in on speaking and coaching, one of the most uncomfortable things I've ever done.
I'm sure.
I mean, you want to talk about wrecking my nervous system,
Yeah.
but also I knew that I couldn't keep doing it.
Mhm.
That's not what I wanted to do anymore. That's not where my heart was. And getting paid to speak, I've had to build those levels of comfort
Mhm.
exactly the way that you're talking about.
Yeah.
Like the first time I got actually paid to speak, like not just free or donating time, I got paid $300. And I was like, I'm fucking making it. And I'm not discounting because $300 is $300, right? But that helped me to say, okay, if I can do 300, could somebody pay me 500?
Mm.
Right. And then I went through a speaking class, and my speaking rate is 10,000 now
Yeah.
at time of recording. That price is going to go up, friends.
Yeah.
But I've had to build the safety even in that because, and I have it literally on a sticky note in front of me. I look at it every day to become familiar with it.
Mhm.
It's uncomfortable to do the thing
Mhm.
that you need to do to get to the thing that you want.
Yeah.
But when you notice that and you don't run away, you don't put your head in the sand, you don't abandon cart,
Mhm.
and you move and work through it, is when you actually start to achieve it. I mean, it's, to your point, you've got to call yourself out on the bullshit. Like if I don't pitch, if I don't get on LinkedIn and do my thing on there, right? There's a bunch of shit with speaking I don't want to do, but I'm not in a place to outsource it right now.
Mhm.
So I'm in my own trench.
Yeah.
But if you want it bad enough, you'll do it.
And I think that we can even go a little deeper with this conversation because we talk about kind of like easing ourselves into it and building capacity and building tolerance, right? So like from a scientific standpoint, kind of moving out of the energetic side for a second, all of us have a window of tolerance, right? That our nervous system says, okay, we're still regulated when we're in this state. And some of us have a really small, like, we're talking a 1 inch if we're looking at it visually, and some of us have 3 feet. So this is why this is such deep personal work and why it can be so helpful to have someone outside of you to anchor into their beliefs and their energy and what's possible. And so when you start to look at your relationship to money, for instance, Laura was very triggered around my months in my business at first. Her window of tolerance was spiking out of it. You were like, "Ooh, that's really uncomfortable." Like it's making me kind of look at the different parts of myself. And then there's the part where we start to grow that window of tolerance. So one way you can start to do that is what I call money dates, where you sit down with your money and you may have to ease yourself into this work. If you are someone who leans avoidant, maybe you need to just sit down and look at it. Don't fix it, don't anything. Just like look at where your money's going. Look at how much money you have. Does it make you uncomfortable? Do you find yourself wanting to hoard it? Do you find yourself stressing about where it needs to go? Like your body is always speaking to you. And then as you start to get more comfortable being with your money, you can start to get more intentional with like, what do you want to see happen with your money? And you don't have to jump to the 50K, right? Jump to the 3K, the 5K, the 20K, wherever you are. And I like to give my manifestations 3 zones: my energetic minimum, my stretch goal, and my buck wild goal. Okay. My buck wild is going to be your 50K, your 100K, your 1 million, 7 million. Like I'm working towards $1 million company. Saying that 3 years ago, I probably would have like passed out on the floor. Like I don't know what would have happened, right? But now I can feel that my window of tolerance around money has shifted where I'm like, yeah, $1 million company done. So we have to start to do this work. So when you sit with your money, when you look at it, when you start to get intentional, give yourself the energetic minimum, right? We talked about those 1K months where I was like, 1K is my energetic minimum, 3K is my stretch, 5K is like buck wild. I'm gonna, get up on the kitchen table and dance. Like, and that builds your window of tolerance. And every time you set those goals, you're starting to see that it raises because once impossible, now normal. The first time you hit that $1,000, your body and your brain no longer see it as impossible, and you've just raised your energetic minimum. So next time it might be 2,000, where you're like, wow, just 30 days ago it was 1,000. So give yourself time to build that tolerance and you will collapse time because I promise you, you're going to be like, I just 5x'd in the last 30 days. I'm going to go for this goal. And you're not going to feel as activated about it. Just like Laura, from $300 to $10,000 speaking. She built that capacity over time by sitting with it, looking at it, being with it, and normalizing it. This is why I say get around expanders. When you, I consistently have to remind myself that talking about the money that I talk about is not normal. It's so abnormal. And my friends group are probably sometimes like, what the hell? Because I'm like, oh yeah, like we're on track to do 50 this month, or like, oh, we did 40 cash. And I'm saying it so casually. And trust me, it's not lost on me. I feel extremely privileged, and I am. But I remind myself, I'm like, that is not normal. I was negotiating $12 an hour not that long ago.
Yeah.
But it's because I've built that and I have consistently invested in myself, invested in my development, getting into communities and mentorship and places that my family did not give me access to. If there's one thing that I learned from working with millionaires, every single one of them has a mentor that they
Mm.
pay. Not to mention the friends group who are running trillion, blah, 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 $1 million companies, right? That's coming through osmosis, but they all have someone who's expanding them. And I will be the first to say it's extremely privileged to be able to do that. And I had to put my first investment in myself on a credit card. I did. I'm not recommending anyone do that if that's not safe for you, but I was a little risky biscuit and I did it, but it did change my life.
Because it challenges you forward in ways that no one else in your world can currently help you with. It's calling you forward. It's helping you see what's possible. It's mirroring what you can do. It's just showing you and guiding you and pushing you past a point where you didn't even know existed, or you thought wasn't even possible.
Yeah.
That mentorship and the people you're around, man, underrated tool. Underrated.
If you really think about it, that's not going to be a normalized societal viewpoint because it challenges the status quo and it challenges a lot of our infrastructure that we operate on the daily, right? If you really think that you can make 20K months, then who's going to be in the workforce? So
Right.
you have to be someone who goes against the grain a little bit to even one, claim that this is possible for you, and two, be willing to be brave enough to put yourself in spaces of people who are talking about it in this way.
Yeah. It normalizes it. That's the word I've been searching for in my own brain here right now.
Yes.
It, being in the right groups or having a mentor, having a coach in your world helps you to normalize your desires.
Yeah. And you don't get what you want, you get what you expect.
Mm. Oh, say that. Tell me more about that, because that's hitting a chord right now.
You don't get what you want, truly. When you think of the energy of wanting, it is highlighting that you don't have it. There is this energy of like, I deeply desire it because I don't have it. When you just expect it, it's normal for you. You're like, of course I'm going to make 20K months. Of course I'm going to make 30. It's not even a question. It's not that you don't desire it, but you're not wanting or craving.
So you're not in this like desperate energy for it,
Hmm.
because that kind of energy just repels money.
Yeah, it's like a relationship. When you get a little too clingy, when you're triple texting, and they're like, simmer down, baby girl. Right? Where there's a little bit, when you meet someone who's a little more casual and there's a matched energy of like, of course they're going to text me back. We both had a great time. Of course we're going to go on another date. There was like this instant magnetism that happens.
Money wants you to trust it.
Hmm.
And when we don't trust it, it's like, I'll wait.
Hmm.
I'll wait.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the reasons why you see so many people in your world or in your orbit or online doing the thing that you say you want to do, but aren't getting it yet.
Mhm.
It's because there's this desperate longing, hurry, hustle, fix energy that's going into it. And the money's like, I don't play that game.
Mm.
And if I do, I don't stay for long.
Yes. And like we can go deeper into the energetics of like vibration versus frequency because there's this kind of, I don't know, rubs me the wrong way. When it's like, don't think a bad thought, don't ever stress, don't ever worry because you're gonna, be low vibe. You don't have to be high vibe to manifest or have a lot of money. You need to have a high frequency. Your frequency is the average of your human belief and emotion and intention. Intention will always supersede your current anxiety. I'm someone who runs a little anxious, right? So when you think about your intentionality and your emotion and your belief coming together, that's what determines your frequency. And it's the 80-20 rule, baby girl, like you're human. So if you're someone who's like, well, I just got stressed about money, now I'm not going to be able to manifest it. No, take a step back. We're opening our window of tolerance. It is okay for us to get dysregulated. That is normal human behavior. You are a human being, right? And so you have to give yourself the understanding of we're not going to kind of support these self-fulfilling prophecies by saying, oh, if I have a bad thought, or if I mess up once, or if I fuck up around my money this month, I can't have it. We're going to go, oh, we're building the tolerance. I noticed I got stressed here. How am I going to give myself safety? Everything is going to come back to safety. Everything is going to come back to detaching from some of the energy and the emotions that maybe we grew up with. I grew up very anxious around money, never having enough, like stealing toilet paper from the mall because we couldn't afford it. And I realized that I was constantly in the anxiety, I need more, I need more, I need more, and never in the I'm going to create internal safety and I'm going to slowly work my way up and I'm going to give myself that along the way. And that really is the best gift you can give yourself.
So beautiful. And it's so much easier.
Hmm.
And things just start to come in. They show themselves differently.
Yeah.
I really feel like you see opportunity differently when you're in that space because you're not in reactive, like, oh shit, gotta fix, gotta hustle. And we all have those moments, right? And I love the reframe there is like, okay, if I had that moment, it doesn't mean that I've just blown it all out. It means that I've had a moment.
Yeah.
But now you're recognizing it. Now you're shifting with it. Now you're getting back into your energy and you're choosing to move differently the next time. That's the work. When we talk about doing the work, like that is the work.
Yeah. Yeah.
I gotta ask one more thing because I feel like we can't end this episode without me going here because it's something that I think almost every business owner does,
Hmm.
and it's around pricing.
Oh.
This like, yeah, because we talk about we want these dollars, right? We're calling in money, and so I figure like I need to price at around this point, or this is what I'm feeling drawn to price.
Mhm.
Oh, nobody's gonna pay that. Oh, let me just bring it back a little bit. Oh, that's not reality. Talk to me about pricing and feeling good about your pricing and using that as a tool to actually achieve your goals instead of downplaying yourself and your abilities.
Well, when we talk about pricing, there's like this, we talked about it a little bit in this episode already. There's this false idea that if it's cheaper, it's easier to sell.
Yeah.
If you can leave this episode with nothing else, selling is neutral. Whether you're selling a $10,000 offer or you're selling a $10 offer. If you can start to create neutrality, aka safety, no charge in your body around selling your offer, you can really charge whatever you want. Where most people get hung up is they will say things like, I want to charge $10,000 for this 6-month program. And then they want to throw up when they go to sell it because they are so disembodied from that price that they cannot hold it. Their nervous system is so activated. People feel your energy before they hear your words. So you can go through the motions and you can half-ass it and you can be like, Aubrianna, I got on stories or I did this pitch. But if your energy is screaming, I can't hold this, baby girl, we got to come back to the foundations. So when I am working with clients on pricing, we kind of have to meet in the middle with strategy and embodiment. I do not give people a blanket formula for pricing. So I look at the embodiment and then I look at the strategy. And when I'm looking at the strategy, I'm also looking at sustainability, right? You should not be pricing like a passion project. And so I will challenge people to look at their overall cost of doing business, look at their marketing, look at their admin, look at their cost of, monthly cost expenditure. Then we're going to look at your offer suite breakdown and go, okay, here's where we need to allocate at least this much for salary for this, whatever. Where are we at with the embodiment? Oh, we're not there yet. Okay, we're going to do some stair stepping with your pricing, just like with the beliefs, to get you there to hold it. And you could go the route of, I'm going to do all the energetic works to hold it, but I have found that it is so much more digestible if you give yourself a stair step and you give yourself some grace. So if you're someone who wants to charge high ticket, but you feel yourself contracted, you probably need someone to help you with the energetics and the strategy to show you how to get there instead of just consistently trying to throw yourself in the deep end. And I want you to be honest with yourself and say, how long have you been trying to get here and has it worked? And if it has not worked, it is time to change your approach. So look at sustainability. Start with, what do you need to make monthly? What's your energetic minimum? What's your stretch goal? What is your buck wild goal? And then reverse engineer it to your pricing and say, am I comfortable with that? You only need to be at an 80%. You're never going to have zero activation, at least not in my experience. So as long as you're at an 80% belief, that's actually good because it's a little scary for you. You want there to be some skin in the game. You don't want to be completely detached. You don't want to just like ascend consciousness. You do want to care. So if you're at an 80% backing of that price, you're in a good spot. So look at your sustainability, reverse engineer it with your pricing, feel into the energetics, and then say, what would be actually expansive? And then we start to go, 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 go. That's really how I take clients from 10 to 30K months in like 60 days. They got to be able to hold it. Yes, there's strategy. Yes, there's some scalability, but a lot of times it's like they're feeling such a big wobble around the sales. And then I come in and I'm like, it is so simple. And they're like, this is too easy. And I'm like, your brain doesn't like easy. And so you're getting in your own way. We're going to follow
Mm.
easy. Our brain loves to trauma bond. It loves to struggle bus. It loves to be like, hey, here's how I can make it more difficult for you. But you can follow easy as long as the hard part is going to be the embodiment,
Yeah,
raising your standard of belief. Because whatever you truly believe is where you're operating from. And when people tell me, oh, I just can't sell, I'm like, you would not have hired me if you deeply believed nobody would buy this.
true.
So call bullshit on yourself and let's get to the real thing holding you back because we love to deflect. And sometimes it's inner child, sometimes it's, the relationship with money. They're afraid that people are going to take their money or, hit them up for money. And so, like, there's a level of avoidance that rears its head in sessions of like these common patterns that once we work through those at the root, it's like they take off because they finally looked at the thing. So when it comes to pricing, ask yourself, what's sustainable, reverse engineer it, feel into your body, and then be like, what would be really expansive? What would get me at that 80%? Because if you're at like, oh, I can sell this like hotcakes, I want you to challenge yourself. I want you to go a little bit more. So that's my business anti-business advice.
I, I love it. Business anti-business.
Yes.
You need to coin that, my friend.
Yes.
Listen, when it comes to business and strategy and energetics, hands down, you're the best. And I don't just say that because you're my coach. I say that because you're doing it, you're embodying it, and you're amplifying other women to do it as well. That to me speaks volumes. So I want to make sure everyone knows where to get more of you, my friend. So where can we find and connect with you online?
I am on TikTok and I'm on Instagram at Aubrianna Kay. It's the same handle both places. And I do have an email list that you can pop on. I have a free mini course if you need a place to start. There's going to be a little ritual, a little sales strategy, a little conversion strategy in there for you. But really, those are my three main Three main spots: email list, Instagram, and TikTok.
Perfect. And if I'm not mistaken, you've got a little offer something for everybody listening.
Yes. So by the time this is airing, it is my birthday month, which means I'm actually going to be having a $35 masterclass that's going to be talking about lead generation and sales on social media. There's going to be a little digital bundle that you can snag celebrating my 35th birthday. So it'll be $350. And I'm also going to be offering $500 off of the Portal Mastermind. So it'll be a $3,500 offer for 6 months with me in your business. And I'm going to have one really, really special spot open. So if you're listening and you're feeling a heart tug, it'll be a 6-month one-on-one for $13,500. So it'll be $1,500 off for one lucky person during my birthday month.
I love a good numerology consistency. I'm not surprised by this by any means.
Listen, my Venus is in Leo. We're celebrating the whole month.
You're taking up every day that's in it, and I'm here for it. Aubrianna, I gotta know, what does gutsy mean to you, my friend?
Honestly, gutsy just means giving yourself permission to listen to your truth. I think so many women are afraid to really listen to what they already know, and then they go, dang, I knew that when it's too late. And if I could encourage anyone to do anything, it would be give yourself permission to actually listen to that voice because that is your inner knowing.
Look, friends, I'm so excited that Aubrianna stepped into this space with us. I've been able to witness and work with her magic for some time now. And I got to tell you, Oraline, the mastermind you've been hearing me talk about this whole episode, it was born through working with her. Understanding messaging and the strategy and the energetics behind it has been invaluable. So I highly recommend that you connect with her, especially on social media, because she gives so many great tips and she's got so many great products and services. So everything's going to be linked in the show notes below. And while you're at it, if you and I are not yet friends, why don't we fix that? You can also find me using @thatlauraora across the social board. And as always, until I see you next time, stay gutsy.